Hello, and thank you, very important, to the returning subscribers. To the new viewers, this is Hamu254 and feel welcomed. Sit down, enjoy, watch, like, share, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. I am bringing you some water and some juice. Thank you. Can you please share with us some specific events or experiences that deeply impacted in your life when you were living with the nomads?
Yes. Once I was traveling in the deep desert. I was coming back from a trip to the deep desert with one nomad companion, and we came across this lone tent in a wadi. That's a lugger, a watercourse. Yeah. And that was a little bit odd because most of the nomads at that season had moved south, and they usually camped together. It wasn't usual to find just one tent. These tents were made of goat and camel's hair mixed together, by the way. They were made by the nomad women themselves. And we found this tent. There was a family there, a man and two young boys and a girl who was slightly older and his wife and so on. A small family, and they brought us food, they welcomed us, they brought us cedars, they always did. And as we were eating, we asked them, well, why are you still here? Why didn't you move south with the rest of the clan? And the head of the family, whose name was Rai, said, well, we didn't move because we've lost all our animals. They're all dead. There was a drought at that time, and their animals had all died. The goats and the camels were all dead. And so they didn't even have camels to move their things, their tent and the family, further south. Yeah. So we immediately said, well, you can use our camel. We only had 2 camels, but you can load your stuff, your tent and so on, onto our camels, and we'll help you move. Mm-hmm. And they wanted to move somewhere. It was about 3 days' journey to Rai's brother-in-law, his wife's brother. Mm-hmm. And they wanted to move to that camp, so we helped them move. And so on the way, I had quite a good opportunity to talk to him. And the first thing I noticed was he didn't seem really upset, and I thought, well, you seemed happy enough. I thought, for somebody who's just lost all his animals, and I thought, for a nomad, that must be like going bankrupt, you lost all your sort of capital.
True, that means it's like all your wealth is
all your wealth is gone, yeah. So, but he seemed cheerful enough, didn't seem really sort of sad about it. So I said, you don't feel, sad, you lost all your animals. He said, well, of course I do, but he said, I'm not worried because when I get to my brother-in-law's camp, he will give me a camel, or give us a camel for everyday use, like fetching water, things like that. And he will also, I will help him to herd his camels. And after the one season, he will give me 2 she-camels, pregnant she-camels. And of course, they will give birth, and I'll have 4 camels. He said I'll work another season with him and give me another 2 camels if everything goes well. And they will be pregnant, and then I will have 8 camels in a very short time. And of course, at the same time, he will also help me with food and milk and water. We will camp near to him, and all the other people will help us, in the clan will help us as well. So in a very short time, I'll get my herd back, and then I'll exchange some of those camels perhaps for goats and sheep, so I'll have some small stock as well. So very, very soon, I will, have built up my herd again, I'll be independent again, Wow. So that really struck me, and I understood then that the nomads, because they shared, and not shared in the sense that everything was common property, I don't mean that, but if someone was destitute, as Rai was at that time, his family were, they had nothing, then everyone would help them and give them. As long as the other people in the clan had something to give, they would give. Okay? So this was a real revelation to me, because I realized that what they had, what you might call existential security, they knew absolutely that if they were in trouble, the other people, their family, their relations, would look after them. And it was absolute. It wasn't a matter of choice. They just helped each other automatically. And of course, those who gave them things, those who helped them knew that if they were in the same position ever, then they also would be helped. So they didn't have, I think in our society we live with this insecurity, am I going to pay the rent? And, what if I lose my job or I can't get a job or whatever, So I think, and this is not just in this country, but everywhere in the world, in civilization, people live in this anxiety and a sense of insecurity. But the nomads didn't have that. They felt absolutely safe and secure in their lives because it wasn't just about them. It wasn't just about me, the individual. It was about us, the community. And the community always came first. So they had something that I think we don't have in this kind of society. They have this feeling of security. Although, that it wasn't just about their lives, it was about our lives.
So I think
that's something, that really impressed me. That really changed my life.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I think that might be a very big, maybe, difference with right now, because right now, that young man told, or that man told you that when he is not worried, because when he gets to the brother-in-law, he will be given work, and then he will get something from that work that he will restock soon. But right now, I think the people who are using you much badly, like I can say, for example, that if I have a family who is rich, they want to use me in a bad way, that I don't get helped, so I don't leave their work, maybe their company. Because, for example, if I take your example of maybe I give every season, I give you 2 camels which are pregnant. That means within 3 seasons, I will have give you 6 camels. That will give back, and will give back to another 6. That is 12. With 12 camels, you are already rich. You are already you are stable. You are at least stable. But in Kenya, I think or not even in Kenya, but in the world right now, people are living this life they don't want to help you satisfy yourself. For example, if someone is paying you, they want to pay you something that tomorrow you will come again. Another day you will come again. You won't be able to stabilize yourself, maybe open a business. If you're selling my shop, I want to give you a small amount of maybe salary, so that tomorrow you don't open your shop, and so that you will always be coming to my shop. That's the difference. So just imagine, as maybe a viewer, what your perspective of helping your brother. There is these the people that lives like Somalis, like the nomads, the Somali people. Yeah. The Somali people, when they are living, if a brother, good people are there. What if you be one of them?
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, could I add this? Yeah. I think, you're right, because I grew up, like most of us, in a society where it's all about the individual.
True.
It's me. The ego. And we are brought up to believe, we have to be successful, and it doesn't matter if we exploit other people, and it doesn't matter if we, ride over other people or use other people, as long as we succeed. And that basically is the ethos of business, isn't it? I mean, it's not supposed to be, but actually it is. So, that's why it was such a revelation, because I realized the people I was living with, they didn't even see the same world that I saw. It wasn't a world of competition, where people, fighting against each other, struggling against each other, competing to be better than each other. That wasn't the world they lived in at all. It was a world, and they had this word, muhanna, or muhanni. It's an Arabic word meaning kind. It literally means kindness. And that was the code they lived by. Muhanni, kindness. Muhanni in their dialect. The standard word is muhanna, but they said muhanni. Okay? But it literally means kindness, but it also has much bigger implications, like generosity, hospitality, mutual aid, and mutual well-being. Okay, so it is your job in life to help other people. That's the way they saw the world. Not to help yourself, but to put others first.
Put on these ones, yeah.
And it wasn't just the family, it wasn't just the clan. I was a complete stranger to those people. They didn't know where I come from because they knew nothing about the world. Even if I said I came from England, they wouldn't know where that was, So they had no idea about it, So, and I'm not saying that to put them down. I think they were fine. They knew everything about the world that they lived in, which was enough for them. Anyway, they didn't know anything about me, where I came from, yet they welcomed me, into their families, and I stayed with them. I lived with them for 3 years. I never paid a penny, and if I'd offered them money, they would have been really insulted. You don't offer money to nomads, because they say, "What do you mean? What do you take me for? You're offering me money. What do you mean?" So you wouldn't dare to offer them anything, And it wasn't only me. There were people who lived in the clan that I lived with. There were people from other tribes who'd been also welcomed into their community. So not everybody was related. I mean, a lot of people were, but not everyone. Some people had just been welcomed from other tribes and just stayed there and lived with them. And, like me, they did the same work. They would do the same work as the people in the clan, water the animals and look after the animals, and they did the work that was expected, but they were welcome. They weren't saying, "Oh no, you're a stranger, you're a foreigner, we don't want you here." There was none of that. So this kindness, this mohani, it extended not just to the family and the clan, but to everybody.
So that means like it was we can say they lived that life that we come from one father and we come from one mother.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow.
And we're all Bani Adam.
Bani Adam. We are all Bani Adam. We are all from our father who is Adam.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, when did you have a visitor whom you didn't know where they are from and you welcomed them in your home? When did you maybe go to somewhere and you are welcomed and they didn't know where you are from or your whereabouts? Maybe you have just mentioned some of them, they didn't know even your name, and they didn't bother even to ask.
At first they wouldn't ask, but because when a stranger arrives at a nomad camp, it's not polite for the nomads, it's not considered polite to ask, "Well, where have you come from? Where are you going? Why are you here?" That's considered to be rude. So at first, maybe later, after a few days, they might ask, but certainly to start off with, they won't ask you to explain why you're there. And their hospitality is really extreme, because even if someone turns up from a clan with whom they have a feud, a blood feud, they are still obliged to welcome them, and the host will defend that guest with his life, even though he may come from an enemy clan, something like this, they have some kind of feud between them. And they will know who this person is. One of your clan killed my uncle, 50 years ago.
I understand that.
But still, he will be offered absolute hospitality, the same as anyone else.
That is a world to them. And maybe we can mention, or we can I can ask, what are some of the core nomadic values that you believe modern society could benefit from? If they maybe they have the core values, they can benefit, they can change their lives.
Well, as I said, the core values can be summed up in this word mohani or mohana,
the kindness,
which means kindness.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, we, I think, live with what you might call this narrative of separation, where we just see ourselves as separate individual, but not only ourselves and each other. We see nature as a collection of separate material objects. Now, what I understood after I'd lived with the nomads for a while, this the most difficult thing really when you were brought up where I was to understand this, that they didn't see themselves as being separate from each other. They didn't see themselves as being separate from nature. And they did not see themselves as being separate from the divine, the sacred. Okay, for them, the divine, the sacred, was something that was in everything, not just humans, but in everything. And it also transcended everything. So they didn't claim to understand what the divine was. It was this tremendous force which ran through everything and created everything. They didn't pretend to understand what it was. They didn't believe that they could control it. Okay? I mean, now we live in a society where people think they can control nature, for example. Okay? But that to the nomad would have been just like, something really stupid, to think you can control nature, or control the divine, So, those are the values I think the nomads lived by. So it was this sense of connection with everything, that they were, connected to themselves, which we aren't.
Yeah.
They were connected to each other, which we aren't. And they were connected to nature, which we aren't. We think we're separate from nature. And finally, they were connected to this divine spirit in which we all live. And they considered themselves as part of that spirit. Okay? So whatever name you want to give to it, you could call it Allah, you call it God, call it whatever you like. But for them, it wasn't a person, of course. It was this divine spirit that just transcended everything and was part of everything.
Wow. So I think these people, they didn't have a kind of, we can say something like, they didn't have the classes that we have. We have the poor class, we have the middle class, we have the high class, we have the VIP, we have all those classes. These people didn't have these classes. Indeed, they live just a normal and a good life. So what kind of a life do you live with? We start with yourself, with that the supreme being, that force that you believe in. How is your relationship with him? And then after that, I will ask you the second question. I ask you, what is your relationship between you and your family? What is your relationship between you and your society? What is your relationship between you and your community? And lastly, what is your relationship between you and everything? Those questions, indeed, I will leave them rhetorical. Ask yourself, consider them, and then after that, maybe they might change some of your thinking or some of your acting in this life. And we also mentioned that you are a writer. So maybe we can talk a bit about these books you have written, and to be specific, maybe you can tell us about a key theme or a message of one of your books that you feel like it's very important to share with today's world.
Yes, well, my most recent book is called The Oasis of the Last Story, Tales from the Desert.
Yeah.
And it's a partly fictionalized account of my experience in the desert for over 40 years. I mean, it's not made up in the sense of what happens in the book actually did happen, but it's fictionalized in the sense that I put all these experiences together as one journey. So everything that in the book actually happened, but I put it together as though it was just one journey, rather than spread over 40 years. And again, it's about everything that I learned in the desert. So I started off, I was told, where I grew up in England, that this was the best of all possible worlds. This was the best way to live. And when I went to live with the nomads, I realized that was wrong, which is wrong, because those people were very happy. They had this, I don't mean the sense of just, doing a dance and a song every day. I don't mean that kind of happiness. This existential happiness, this feeling that they were at home in the world because they had this sense of meaning, which I think is the worst thing about our society, is that we've lost, or many people, let's say not everybody, but many people have lost this sense of meaning. And that's because we invest all our hopes and our meaning in material things. Getting the house, getting the car, getting, a material, and it's not just things. It's also objective experiences, you know. I go on holiday here and I do this and I go to the gym and all those things, you know. So it's not just things, it's objective experiences as well. So what this book is about is my spiritual awakening in the desert. That's what these journeys led up to, this spiritual awakening where I started to understand that you cannot get happiness from material things or from objective experiences, even relationships or substances, you know, like alcohol or drugs, whatever, you know, or even activities, like even from writing books, which is what I do, you know. You don't get happiness from any of those things. Happiness comes from having this sense of meaning and purpose in your life. Okay? Yes, you can enjoy those things. You can enjoy your relationship. You can enjoy writing or going to the gym or playing football, but they won't bring you lasting happiness. That only comes from having this sense that you belong here, that you are, you know, at home in the world.